are those of the guest hosts and callers, and not necessarily of this station, its management, or other advertisers.
This is ContactTalkRadio.com, consciousness in action, and you are taking action into your consciousness by tuning into Contact Talk Radio.
And on TuneIn.com, Hing.fm, and UpSnap Mobile.
Contact Talk Radio.
Welcome to Life Mastery with Todd Allen, the talk radio show that dives into the science of higher consciousness. Join Todd and his guests weekly at 10 a.m. Pacific Time and learn how to live a peaceful life with intentional mastery. Enjoy a survey of inspiring topics such as abundance, intention, health, manifestation, love, and transformation. It's all right here. Leading authors, speakers, coaches, entrepreneurs with stories and messages to support your well-being, let alone your most evocative dreams.
Well, you know what I'm going to say, I think. Hey, it's another groovy day. That's because when I woke up this morning, I decided to make it that way. Welcome to Life Mastery Radio, the talk show that brings you great thoughts and ideas for you to use on your very own life mastery journey. As always, I like to get myself centered and situated before the show, so let's just take a minute and think about what it is that you connect to. What is it that you get power from? What is it that relaxes you? What is it that you connect to pray to? Whatever it is, think about that just for a second. Let's take in a deep breath. And let that breath out with a big ah. And think about that connection. Let's do that one more time. This time, think about those big dreams, visions, and goals. We're almost done with this year, so if you haven't accomplished them yet, don't worry about it. You can always start right now. But think about those just for a minute. Take in a deep breath. And let it out with another big let those dreams, visions, and goals just flow up through your speaker box out into the universe. And for sure, allow the universe the opportunity for those to come true for you.
Messages to support your well-being.
Cam, we're hearing. Oh, it's.
Oops.
That's okay. We get a little reverb.
Yeah, I just need to figure out how to
just turn down your volume.
Yeah.
Hi, Jackie.
Hello.
How are you today?
I'm good. Still
It's
hobbling
nice to
around
hear.
on my foot a little bit, but I'm getting around better every day.
That's how much. So did you notice that's how much of a delay there is between the conversation we're having and what people are seeing?
Right.
It's kind of cool.
Yeah.
How's things at the Speak Feed Lead project?
Good. We're starting our fall classes today, and we'll be starting new classes every couple weeks for the next few months, just until people figure out, what is the school schedule going to look like, and what virtual classroom does my child need to be on every hour of every day. And so, yeah, it's interesting times we're living in. It's hard to know what's normal right now and how to have expectations for things, for sure.
So what kind of questions do you get about your program? Entice me. Why would I sign up for it?
Well, our kids are not being socialized very well right now. Everything's virtual. And my understanding from what I've heard from some of my students is that it's kind of a joke. The online school classes are kind of a joke. And it's hard for the teacher to maintain some control over the kids. Did you hear the other day, some little boy was in a virtual classroom and showed a toy gun? And police were sent to his home to arrest him for having a gun in his home.
That it's hard to tell. Some people really can't tell the difference, though. So I could see that. That's kind of crazy.
I don't know. He's in his home surrounded by his toys, and it was a toy gun. Anyway, so I think there's just craziness going on, and
Trying
we're
to figure it out.
start this new normal existence, and yet we're thinking, how long is this going to be normal, and are things ever going to go back to where we can actually sit in a classroom and learn from a teacher again? I don't know. It's all kind of crazy. So we're doing our best to give your child an opportunity to have a fun, engaging hour or 90 minutes with our teachers and other students, and learn public speaking skills and learn how to gain more confidence and practice conversations, practice debate, practice persuasive speaking, all kinds of things, and storytelling. They have fun.
Well, and they get to discover what's important to them too, not directly, but indirectly. I think is the direction you take it, and what's important to them.
Sure, and they get to learn empathy for other people too. They get to hear what they like and what their hopes and dreams are, and they have to respectfully listen to that and give feedback about how that person could deliver their message more powerfully. And so it's not just about the student themselves, it's about getting outside of who they are and then helping other people to be better at who they are. It's pretty cool, actually.
Yeah. And so parents are interested. They're just kind of sitting on the fence waiting to see how this is all going to shake out.
Yeah,
it's going to shake out really good. So sign up today. I want to remind our listeners that today's show page is at www.lifemasteryradio.net or .com. You can go there, click on today's show page. I'm thinking our guest has an ebook that they want to give you, so you can go there and find that. Or while you're there, sign up for the newsletter and our blog post about today's show that Jackie does such a wonderful job with will be there. And I'll bet you that link to this free ebook that we're going to hear about today will be right there. So I'm enticing you to sign up for our newsletter. It just takes your email address. We don't use that email address for anything else. We just send you who's coming on the show, who's been on the show, and a blog post about the show that we just did. So it's kind of cool. It's a great way to stay informed about all things life mastery. While you're there, you could click on the link and check out my book, 6 Keys to Life Mastery, Unlocking life skills for successful living. And you're going to love it. And then you go back to Amazon and give me some feedback. That's the way it works. It works pretty cool that way. Okay, what else am I missing? Anything else, Jackie?
I think that was a pretty good house cleaning right there.
Okay, on with the show. Look at our smiley face guest today. She's so radiant. Just look at that. She looks kind of like
my makeup, I guess.
Glowing complexion.
Our guest today is Sherry Gaba, longtime friend of mine. I first became aware of her many years ago with her first book. And Sherry, what's the name of that first book?
Well, it was called The Law of Sobriety, and then it was republished.
The Law of Sobriety.
But I think you'd like the name that I republished it under, which is Infinite Recovery.
Ah, I didn't know you did that.
I think, the book is about the law of attraction, and I think Law of Sobriety, people thought it was more of like a legal book on sobriety and the sobriety laws. So I wanted to bring in, consciousness, and so I thought Infinite Recovery sort of spoke to that.
Cool. Well, you can find both those books, I think, at Amazon. That's interesting, because I really identified with the Law of Sobriety, but I thought it was really cool. But anyway, that's when I first met Sherry. Sherry is a psychotherapist, life coach, and certified recovery coach specializing in individual, couples, family, and group psychotherapy. She maintains a private practice. Are you still in Westlake Village?
Well, I'm doing a lot of Zoom these days. So I'm very, yes, I'm still in Westlake, but many people are coming online these days, as you know, with COVID.
We're all updated, as well as providing phone. You need to update your profile because it says phone and Skype appointments. Now you need to put in Zoom.
You're right. That's so true. Exactly. Yes.
Hi, Sherry. How are you? I'm so excited to have you on the show today.
I just love being here, and I'm really honored that you reached out, and I'm so happy to be here.
Well, I reached out, and then you got right back to me and you said, look, the new cover of the book, and I was like, oh, perfect timing, because this new book, Love Smacked, How to Stop the Cycle of Relationship Addiction and Codependency to Find Everlasting Love, actually gets released September 22nd.
Yes, pre-orders are available so people can get in there and get their book. But yes, it's really, really exciting. I love the new title. I love the cover. I think it really speaks to what I'm trying to achieve.
So Love Smacked, how did you come up with it? Like,
Actually the publisher did. The whole idea is love addiction, relationship addiction, and sort of like you're being smacked with love. You're obsessed with love. You have to have love. You're lost without love. You're empty without love. It's an addiction like any other addiction. And so you're smacked with this addiction, and the idea is to recover you. And then you can have the healthiest, most authentic partnership ever.
So give us a little context. What does it look like to be a relationship junkie? I think that was the name of the book in its previous life. But give us a little context on how
it was the marriage and relationship junkie, because I'd been married multiple times, and so I was kind of addicted to the fantasy of love and marriage. And being the age that I'm at, I really wanted to just kind of relinquish the shame around it. I think we all who suffer with addictions, whether it's drugs, sex, love, food, codependency, gambling, whatever it is, we have a lot of shame. And I want people to know that it's never too late to recover. So love addiction or relationship addiction, it's a process addiction. So it's not a substance like food or drugs or alcohol, but it's actually a process addiction. But
yet it affects the same parts of the brain. That's what it
does. It does. You can have an addiction to exercise or internet or gaming or shopping, and you can have an addiction to love, and you can have an addiction to codependency, which is, rescuing other people, and it's all in an attempt to distract what's going on inside of you, to get away from what feels uncomfortable inside of you. And yes, Todd, it is the same mood. It has the same mood altering activity that goes on with a drug addict. It's like a fix. The heroin addict has a fix, needs his fix. So the relationship addict has needs that fix too. It's their only identity. And so when a breakup occurs, a love addict or relationship addict will, be longing for that attachment to that person and those pleasurable feelings of that lost relationship, just like a drug user craves their drug. So, we often talk with alcoholism and drug addiction, you're chasing that first high. Well, for love addiction, relationship addiction, you're chasing that first drug of love. I remember when I fell in love when I was 14 years old, that was like, and pretty much looking for that ever since. And unfortunately, that's not what you want to be looking for. You want to come from a whole place rather than a place of something fixing you or making everything better for you because you feel so empty inside. So yeah, you're chasing that first high of love. Yeah. And I don't know if this would help your listeners, but so these are some of the signs and symptoms. You over adapt to what others want. So you kind of give up yourself for that relationship, and you have no boundaries, and you have this chronic fear of letting go. Letting go is just so scary. Being alone is so scary. You have this fear of the unknown. You're always trying to change others. So you sort of fall in love with an illusion of who someone is rather than who they really are. You need others to feel whole, like I was talking about earlier. If you're coming from this empty space, you're looking for others for affirmation and worth, and you fear abandonment. You have a lot of these attachment issues. I'm sure you've had guests on about the attachment, the anxious attachment. So that would be the type that would be a relationship or love addict. And then, like I said earlier, you have withdrawal symptoms, and you just give up who you are in fear that you might lose that person or they may not approve of you. So it's quite deep and it's quite profound and it's very debilitating.
Or you have this sense of you're not whole unless somebody's in your life, or it's just a pursuit. Especially if somebody leaves you, then it's quickly, I got to do something.
Being alone is just so scary. And, I think we'll get into the subject of where it begins. And it really does begin with early trauma. And I always share my story I was in an...
Go ahead and tell us about that, because you were born premature.
Oh, you remember, Todd. I know. It's like you remember the story. Well, I share it because, someone out there might hear this and go, oh my God, but I knew I
totally.
I mean, I know just like alcoholics feel like they're different, like there's something different about me. What is wrong with me? Why am I always like looking for something outside of myself to make me feel whole? And I just knew there was something wrong. And what I discovered was being a preemie, I was in an incubator for 2.5 months. I only weighed 3 pounds, no bonding, no nurturing, no touch, no attachment for 2.5 months. So I didn't really meet my mother for 2.5 months. And then my mother also was sort of an unavailable mother anyway, so that didn't help. But that early attachment really affected me profoundly. So I was really a love addict from the get-go, always looking for somebody to love me. I mean, I would imagine being only fed through my feet, not being given a bottle. They never really picked me up those first 2.5 months. I don't know that for a fact, but I was fed through my feet. So really their job as nurses, unless they had some kind of compassionate understanding that I needed to be held. Hopefully they did, but in those days they really didn't know, like they know today.
Different times. It was different times back then. They had no idea.
They had no idea. They just like, oh, you're a baby, whatever. But now we know we have
You'll get over it.
What? Get over it? Yeah.
You'll get over it.
Yeah. Talk to the hand. Yeah, basically, you know, it was like now they go to your home, they teach you how to hold your baby, you touch your baby. It's so amazing what they do now, but they didn't do any of that then. So I was like a little orphanage baby. Like I think of myself as like one of those Romanian orphanage babies that was in a little, you know, a little incubator and not being touched and held. And I had a really bad, my temper tantrums, you know, I mean, all of these weird behaviors that nobody understood. And then when finally we understood what it was, and I got into very deep trauma work with an amazing therapist. And in fact, I do that kind of work now with my clients. I was able to get back in my body because really I learned how to disassociate. I learned how to not be in my body. I learned how to not be present. And I know you are, you know, a strong component of being present. You started out with the meditation, being in the moment, consciousness. I mean, all of this is impossible if you're not in your body. So it's really about embodying your body, being present. And then when you make choices in the world, you're coming from an embodied place instead of a place of, oh, you know, you're grabbing and you're craving and you're wanting and you're, you know, it's like, you're like desperate, you know, and once you're in your body, nothing, you know, now it's like, I mean, I'm single right now and I'm happy, joyous and free because I don't need anything to fill me up. I'm really comfortable in my own skin and it's a really great place to be.
Yeah. Yeah, the 12 steps brought me to that realization. As long as I did what was suggested and I stayed away from people and relationships for at least a year in the beginning, right?
Well, I think you're laughing because, you know,
it's
I
big.
think part of why you're laughing could be because, you know, when you get rid of one addiction, then you have another addiction, which can be love. So there you were in the rooms of AA going, or the 12 steps going, now
Well,
what can I do?
it's a discovery of yourself, and there's no way that you can begin to understand yourself, what's important to you, why you are who you are, why it is you do the things that you do without that self-discovery. And if there's something else that comes in to help replace that inner discovery, it just all goes out the window.
True. You know, I don't know if you've ever heard of Gaba Mate. He's a great guest you might want to have. He's in Canada and he talks a lot about trauma, again, being underneath most addictions. He believes all addiction comes from early trauma. And, you know, when I talk about my incubator story, you know, I'm not sure if you grew up with any kind of trauma, Todd, or may not even care to share it. But the point is, usually there is some sort of trauma. It could be you came from divorced parents where you were parentified. Your parents treated you like a little adult and your little mind could not, you know, really had no capacity to get that. So that can be a trauma. You know, your parents might have used you as a surrogate partner and that might have set you up for confusion. You could have been neglected.
Here's what I know. I was born breech and I was born blue and they broke my collarbone when I was born and nobody knew it.
Oh, that's major trauma.
I know. I came into the world a fighter, especially being blue, and then they resuscitated that, but just breech. And then my collarbone was broken and nobody knew. And so it sat crooked. And
oh, that really could have set you up in, you know, sort of a PTSD fight flight sort of response.
Yeah, I might have to look at that. You know what? It's interesting that this all comes up because I don't think I've ever looked at it from that perspective. Interesting, Sherry.
Well, I was thinking even how you grew up. I wasn't even thinking your birth. I mean,
Oh no, I know. And then my parents did get divorced when I was 13. That was probably the worst thing that could ever happen to a preteen or a teen. Without some counseling and without some help, that was just like,
it's awful. It's very,
it's terrible.
especially, we're old, of course. Well, I should speak for myself, but in our day, that was not as common as it is. And I was a single mother, and that was in the 80s. And even that was not common. Like, I was really like traumatized just being a single mother because there were not a lot of single mothers. But it could be any kind of trauma. It could be inadequate. It's your needs weren't met. So you could have been abandoned by your parents, could have had addict parents, alcoholic parents. They might not have been emotionally, physically available. And then what happens is this panic sets in. And then as an adult, you respond sort of like an infant in that same pain response. So you're clinging and you're craving and you want others to make you feel whole. And so, love addiction just comes from this not feeling enough, being enough, not having enough. I always say, I've been looking for, please don't take this the wrong way, but for the proverbial breast, my whole life. Like, I'm just looking for something inside, and I think that's a good metaphor, right? I'm looking for something to hold on to because I had nothing. It was like in the ether. So, love addiction is an unconscious attempt to satisfy our developmental hunger for something, to belong. And again, we're always looking outside ourselves to fix that pain, to fix that fear, to fix that discomfort.
And then there's Jackie. Jackie has this ability to be attached to computers, and then they break. No.
Well, maybe Jackie is more logically brain. Maybe maybe right brain. Jackie, are you left brain?
I have no idea.
I'm just teasing her. I'm just teasing her.
I don't think so. I am not mathematical or technical at all, so that must make me right brained, right?
If you're creative, you're right brain, probably.
I think I'm more creative, yes. But I was going to ask Sherry, because you call it love addiction, but is the emotion of love actually involved in this, or is it the search for an emotion like that? I mean, because I know that when you take drugs, it gives you this false sense of, handsomeness, or this false sense of wealth, or a false sense of, anything that you're addicted to gives you this false sense of something. So I'm guessing that love addiction also gives you, it's a lie, essentially, right?
Yeah,
you're not really in love, and maybe you're not even getting love back, but you've been convinced that that's what it is. Right?
That's a really, really good question, because what you're talking about is it's the illusion of what you think love will bring you. So, I think love is more a verb and action. It's how you treat somebody. It's how somebody treats you. It's not like this fantasy. And I think what love addiction and relationship addiction is, it's a fantasy of what you want. I'm thinking of even my mother's situation. My father died. They had a wonderful marriage. And she brought in a predator. She was so lost. She was, late 70s, and just, yes, she was grieving, but she was so desperate to be loved. My mother had a very neglectful childhood. My father basically, I really rescued her, so to speak. And she luckily married a great man and had a great life. But unfortunately, when he died, she lost a sense of self. She became that little girl again with, no non-loving parents, gambling parents, neglect. And so this man, met her at a bar, and she was drinking heavily, and my mother's an alcoholic, and he picked her up, and before you know it, he moved in. He was a con man. He was very charming, and he spoke to all of her neediness. And before you know it, they're living together. And before you know it, I'm in court having to get a restraining order against him, because he was really an abusive person, financially, spiritually, mentally, in every which way. So I bring this story up because I'm really, I think because we are an aging population, there are many people that are, there's actually a show on Showtime right now called Love Fraud. And, and also not even just an aging population. I think because of the way the economy is, people don't have jobs, people don't have financial resources. There's a lot of predators out there, and it can go either way. It could be a man searching for a woman searching for a man. Well, this man was homeless, and he picked up my mother, and my mother, because she was in horrible grief, alcoholism, and the beginnings of dementia, just got sucked in. And you know, basically our family had to clean up the mess, and it was a 1.5-year court case mess. So I take this super seriously because it can devastate families. Just, you know, they say like alcohol can devastate, you know, 6 layers or 6 generations of a family, or 6 people per alcoholic are affected. I think the same goes with love addiction. I'm sorry, what?
Oh, it's just 8. An active alcoholic affects 8 generations, whether it's in the future or in the past. And you think about that, and it's with attitudes, emotions, and behaviors is how they infect other people.
Yes, yes. I mean, going to court and having to fight this horrible person was not something that I would have ever thought could happen after my dad died. But this is the mess that my mother put us in, which of course it's not totally her fault. He was a predator, and she was very insecure and needy, and, you know, they're out there. So it's an illusion of what my mother thought he was. You know, she thought he was going to rescue her, like, you know, as if he was my father, which, my God, he was nothing like my father. And it was devastating to our family, and she was severely abused. So, and, you know, a lot of times the laws are not in your favor. It's, you know, they can squat. Elder abuse is worthless. I hate to say it. So it's very serious matter to be so needy and so vulnerable that somebody can come in and do that to you. So, and it's all because my mother did not, you know, we tried to explain to her, oh my God, look at this man's record, look where he's been, da 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 da.
Yeah.
And the truth of being alone, the truth of who he was far, she just could deny that because she didn't want to be alone.
She didn't want to be alone.
And, you know, just like alcoholism, you know, we go in, you know, to denial, we don't have a disease, blah, blah, blah. Well, the same with love addiction. I don't have a problem. I don't have a problem, because if you look at the truth, you got to get rid of the goodie. She didn't want to get rid of the man, and the alcoholic doesn't want to get rid of the alcohol. So we, you know, there's this denial.
How is it, you know, I'm real curious, Sherry, how is it working in today's world where some people are really alone? They don't get out. They aren't connecting with people. Have you come across this? Are you working with people in these situations?
It's awful right now because people are really struggling. They are isolating. They are alone. I think they're even more prone to being taken advantage of. I suggest, you know, if they're out there dating on dating apps, you know, digital dating is a whole other subject, but it's all about slow and steady, you know, get to know somebody, no rush, you know, get to know them online, do your Zoom calls, maybe eventually meet in person, but really take your time. And, you know, really be discerning, you know, what kind of family does this person come from? You know, who are their friends? How do they treat waiters? Do they have a job? Do they have a car? Do they, you know, I mean, you know, a lot of these things can be so hidden. Are they married? You know, I mean,
or have they been married, and why are they not married?
Could be that could be another question to ask yourself. I mean, just, you know, really do your homework and try not. And the thing is, what I'm trying to say is, if you don't heal your love addiction, you're going to be more prone to being taken advantage of. You're going to be more vulnerable. You're going to feel more rejected. You know, in the digital day of dating. Is that right? Digital day of dating, or whatever.
You just coined a phrase, Sherry.
Yeah, really. Exactly. I think I meant to say digital dating, but whatever. You're kind of like into this swiping thing, and it's like, if they don't swipe right or left or whatever, then, oh my God, it must be me. They don't like me, and then you feel rejected.
Well, then there's the isolation too, because that just amplifies it.
Exactly. And then there's this other whole world of people that I would consider love addicts, where they're on these dating apps, they're on Facebook, and they're needing that hit of attention. So they have no intention of even meeting the person. Of course, some do, and some have sex and do all these cheating things, but a lot of them are just looking for a hit. Like, will you just like reach out to me? Will you pick me? Do you want me? And again, it all goes back to early trauma. I just want to be wanted. I just want to be needed. I just want you to, you know, pay attention to me. I want you to validate me. I want you to acknowledge me. So there's that whole group of people out there. And then there's the married people that are in abusive relationships, that a lot of them are finding out that they're with true narcissists. And now we really understand what narcissism is. I think it's more in the media because of certain particular people that people are seeing in the political arena, and despite who, I don't want to go there, but the point is we understand narcissism in a way we never understood before. And so now we have a lot of people in these abusive relationships that can't get out because they're in that cycle of abuse. So these are hard times.
So how do you help people, Sherry? What are some of the exercises that you go through with clients or someone who's got either an addiction to love or an addiction to sex, which I wonder if there's a difference? And how do you help them first understand what is going on with them, and then how do you help them heal from that?
Yeah, thanks for asking. And again, I don't want to make it sound like it's hopeless. I kind of was listening to myself going, God, I'm sounding like it's so hopeless. It is not.
I think you're just making a point of how it can look. It doesn't mean that has to be the story. And the next chapter isn't written. And if you intervene and stop it and do, I guess the biggest key, Sherry, is to start to look at what's important to you, right?
Well, I think you say that perfectly, and it's really how the whole radio network is consciousness, being aware. Yeah. That's the first step. Like right now, listening to this podcast or this internet radio show, you're in awareness, and now you're making a decision to change, and you're learning to stop looking for external solutions for problems. And you start digging deeper into those fears that keep you stuck in these, revolving door sort of relationships. And you're going to definitely get out of denial. And you're going to examine with a really good therapist your early suppressed trauma in childhood. You really want to work with someone that can really, uncover and discover where this all began. And you're going to start loving that little inner child and responding from your adult self, because you're no longer that little child. You're going to get a really good trauma therapist, someone that's going to help you get back into your body. You're going to become a more loving and forgiving and compassionate person towards yourself. You're not going to judge yourself. You're not going to shame yourself. You're going to use the pain to grow. I mean, originally when I wrote Marriage Junkie, it was because I was so ashamed to tell people how many times I'd been married. It was so shameful because people, I thought would be judging me. And actually, probably a lot of people did judge me. But I didn't just wake up one day going, oh, I want to screw up my life with all these bad relationships and multiple relationships.
I know, it wasn't my intention.
Right? It wasn't my intention. And I want people to know that, if they're looking at their life going, what the heck happened? Don't live in regret. Just know there are reasons for it. And it's never too late to change, and use that pain to grow and prepare yourself for a healthy relationship. And, really trust in yourself, learn how to let go, get therapy, go to maybe some sex and love addict meetings. These are some of the steps you can take immediately to start changing that story. Like you said, change the narrative.
Did you get your question answered, Jackie? I think there was a second part to that.
Yeah, are there exercises that people do? Is it a lot like Alcoholics Anonymous? Is there a 12-step program? Or how is it that people, once they recognize, oh my gosh, this is not healthy, this is not exactly what I was hoping for, I've been led down this path of not really being able to find what I want because I'm looking for the wrong thing. Are there ways that you help these people now to become healthy in their relationships, and what? Yeah,
I mean, I kind of slipped in those answers in the larger answer, but basically definitely therapy, trauma therapy. You can go to 12-step meetings that are called Sex and Love Addict Anonymous. You can go to Codependent Anonymous meetings. You just want to find help. You want to find someone who's really understands this subject, and not just, some snake oil salesman out there. You want somebody that understands addiction, love addiction in particular. And yes, you can go to 12-step meetings, and you definitely want to work on the trauma underneath all of it. That's really important. So many people will hire coaches, and I have nothing against coaches because I'm also a coach. But the coach can move you forward only if you've worked on these issues. You can't move forward if you're still stuck in the past. You still have you're still stuck in that old story, and you still have that trauma in your body. You're just never going to move. And that's why so many people don't move, because they haven't unleashed and discharged all that trauma that is still inside of them. So, that's where you begin, is unleashing that trauma and getting really good support to get moving.
So what do you see happening in the future? Because I think we've all had trauma, right? I mean, just think about the last 6 months. there's been a lot of trauma for our kids in this
Oh yeah.
pandemic. And I think, oh my gosh, what is this going to mean for the future of these individuals who for so long were stuck at home, couldn't socialize, couldn't go on family vacations, couldn't do all these things. It seems like, you know, we've got to be able to find the beauty in the imperfection, right? Because life is not perfect and we're always going to be traumatized one way or the other. So how do we prevent things like this from happening, and how do we help family members or children to have what they need to be nurtured in a way that they're not going to be looking for these obsessive behaviors later on?
I mean, communication is key. I think there is a lot of abuse definitely going on because of this, because they're not in school, or maybe they're not getting, you talk about family vacation, some of them aren't even getting, they're not even being fed, or there's more abuse going on. And yet there are other situations where it's actually been really great having moms work from home if they have the support, because now they can be more present. I know that my daughter, who, you know, was working 60, 70 hours a week, she's a publicist, now working from home. It's been really good for my granddaughter, but of course she can afford help. So we're gonna have to come up with some solutions on how to make this work if we're gonna be a homeschooling society. I think it's a much bigger picture subject that we can't really address here, but you're right. All generations have trauma. You know, when my mother grew up, it was the war. You know, then there was the Vietnam War. I mean, every generation has different kinds of trauma, and we just have to see how it manifests. And I think, you know, communication is key. Having conversations about this. You know, I wonder how many kids are going to have OCD because of the whole germ thing and the masks, you know.
Right.
I mean, that is just like ridiculous. Like, oh, put your mask on, wash your hands, put your sanitizer on. I mean, I wonder what that's going to do. I guess it's all going to be revealed. What?
It's just a whole new evolution of a change that is going to manifest its way through. And I think the key that is going to help everybody is an awareness, right? An awareness of exactly what Jackie teaches is what's important to me. Why am I this way? And recognizing, why do I react this way? Why is it that my triggers or my buttons get pushed? Because I gave that person the button. That's why they get pushed.
Right. No, I think good will come out of this. It's just like, we have to see where it's going to go, how it's going to reveal itself. I don't think we know yet. I just don't.
Like I always say, you don't get to know how you don't want to be until you get there. And I think we're exploring some of those edges of how we don't want to be. And I think that this has been a huge leap in changing the way our society does society. That's true.
And I think it also has brought in more gratitude. You know, we appreciate the old life that we had that we don't have anymore. Now we realize we'll never take that for granted. We'll never take going on that family vacation, going to a restaurant. You know, I'm a canoeer. I do outrigger canoeing, and I haven't been able to because of the rules where you're not 6 feet apart in a canoe. You know, there's 6 of us in the canoe, and I am just so desperate to get in the water, and I will never take that for granted again when I'm back in the water. I won't miss a week of it. So, you know, I think there's also a lot of, like I said, I think there's a lot of good that can come out of this. We just want to make sure that kids aren't being abused, or either getting their proper meals. And it's a much bigger picture. And I hope whoever ends up being our leader, we will move into the direction that we need to move in.
If you just tuned in, our guest today is Sherry Gaba. She has written or rewritten a really cool book. It's really, and this would be a great place to start if you're curious. Love Smacked: How to Stop the Cycle of Relationship Addiction and Codependency to Find Everlasting Love. And Sherry, you also have an ebook that we're going to put out there for everybody. So if you go to lifemasteryradio.com or .net, look for today's show page. There'll be a link to an ebook that Sherry is gifting you. It will also be in our newsletter. So Sherry, what's this ebook all about?
Oh, it's called The Truth of What Codependency Is, or The Truth About Codependency. And they'll have a quiz that they'll take, because often codependency underlies love addiction. And it's a great little ebook. And, you know, just Google my name, Sherry Gaba. I have all kinds of free content out there, lots of blogs, lots of videos. And then if people are really interested and they want to dig even deeper, I have a program that they will receive information when they take the quiz. It's called Wake Up Recovery for Codependence, and it's a membership program where we do live coaching calls. I have hours and hours of wonderful interviews that you can access, and then 10 hours of a course called Wake Up Recovery, which is really all about utilizing the laws of the universe to wake up to your life and to be your best self, to heal from codependency and love addiction, to raise your vibration. And you know, we know that when we have other like-minded people in our sphere, in our inner circle, we can do really great things. So we have a Facebook group that you join, and it's just a beautiful group of people that are, you know, changing their lives, transforming, moving through codependency and love addiction.
Yeah. Yeah, I was going to mention this Facebook page or the Facebook group that you have, but you did. And so people can find you on Facebook. Is it Sherry Gaba?
Actually, the Facebook group they might want to join is Codependence Recover. And then I have a really big Instagram following. It's called Codependency Curious. And if they take the quiz, which they'll get with the link that you're going to put out there, they'll get all kinds of information on everything I'm up to.
Excellent. Cool. Now, what if we don't feel like we have this problem, but we suspect that someone around us, a friend or a child or a spouse or a parent, someone around us has this problem? What are the signs that will tell us that someone is acting in an obsessive way in a relationship setting?
And she's asking for a friend. No.
Of course.
Okay, well, that's a good question. So you're kind of asking what the difference is between being in love and having an unhealthy obsession. So, you know, in healthy relationships, couples first meet, they idealize each other, they're forming a really healthy attachment. But as love matures, hopefully it becomes less intense, a little more secure, trust, you know, develops alongside love. But people with relationship addiction, they never get past that initial stage of falling in love. And so they idealize the person they're in love with. They never feel, yeah, that's obsession. They never feel secure enough to trust them. They become really dependent on the person they love in a really unrealistic way. They hope somehow this person's going to create a kind of happily ever after for them. And it's super unrealistic to expect anyone else to create a satisfying life for you. So inevitably, they're really disappointed. And then their relationships are ultimately never truly satisfying, and yet they can't seem to live without them. And they're not based on healthy bonds, but on psychological bondage. You know, I'm just thinking of my daughter. You know, when I was trying to help my ex-alcoholic husband get sober, I was pretty obsessed. And she would know when I was in this obsession. She would talk to me on the phone, and she's like, "Oh, you're in contact with Scott again, aren't you?" It's like my whole personality changed, my whole essence. It was like under a spell. It was just so unhealthy. So those are some of the signs you want to look like.
How would you define that? So it would be inability to identify with the other person's character defects. Maybe that might be too long-winded.
Well, so some of the signs when you're too obsessed is, you know, you meet someone, you fall in love, you think about them constantly, you're fantasizing about a future together. You overwhelm the partners with attention. You feel it's your responsibility to fix your partner, make them perfect. Like my job was, I'm somehow was going to make my ex-husband sober. And then, you lose your authentic self. You're always changing yourself to suit them. You sort of become a chameleon. You're hyper vigilant and you overreact to the slightest sign that your partner's no longer interested. So you're really insecure. And then again, it goes back to that feeling empty or lost or unworthy if you're not in the relationship.
Yeah.
And again, it just goes back to, sort of that early childhood stuff that you haven't healed.
Well, now it seems like there's a lot of television shows, reality shows have probably ruined it for a lot of people because they see these unhealthy relationships on reality shows that are ridiculous. And they think, well, maybe this is normal. The way I feel is normal, or I'm supposed to act this way or do that. I mean, do you agree, or are there some healthy ways to view relationships that we could model our own lives after?
Well, first of all, I think you're right. I think even today, I mean, I think of the things my granddaughter plays with, or not plays with, some of these cartoons she watches. There's still a prince that's going to save the princess. They're all princesses. I'm thinking of, like, you're right. I mean, think about remember the movie Fatal Attraction with Michael Douglas and Glenn Close, or there's other movies where it just shows this obsessive love, and that's supposed to be normal. So I guess your question is, how do you help people figure out what is healthy or what isn't healthy? Is that kind of what you're asking?
Yeah, are there places where they can see those healthy relationships? You know, if they're looking, if our young people are looking for something to model their feelings and their behaviors and their goals after, is it out there? I mean, I'm just wondering, because if parents are screwed up, what chances do the kids have?
Yeah, that's a good question. So well, you know, I don't know if TV really is the answer to get those healthy. I don't think so. I think it's communication starts in the family. And if they're not getting it in their family, hopefully somebody out there in the community is helping them see what healthy looks like. But I think it starts with healthy communication in the family, really. It's
exactly what Jackie teaches. Communication, right, Jackie? I mean,
That's right.
and giving the kids the power. This is so powerful, Sherry. I'm just going to plug her for a minute. Because she's teaching these young humans how to connect with themselves and then express themselves of what's important to them.
I think that's a great start. I think what you're doing is really important. I mean, it's sort of like the opposite of addiction is what you're teaching them. You know, you're helping them start with themselves. You're helping them find who they are. You're teaching them not to react, but to respond, teaching them healthy communication. I mean, it all starts with you. You know, like I'm in a 12-step program, which is called Al-Anon. And everyone thinks, well, you're just going to be focusing on the alcoholic. No, you're focusing on me, yourself.
Yeah, that's what it's all about, right?
Starts with you.
Last week's guest was Patrick Wanis, talking about our emotions, right? And how our emotions can just come upon us really quickly, and we can just let them take us away to wherever, you know, and many times not a good place. But one of his suggestions was to think, okay, wait, I'm feeling sad. Why is that? Or I'm feeling really angry right now. Let me think about why that might be, and just kind of get in touch with that a little bit more. And perhaps by doing that, as you say, Sherry, we can go back and discover, oh, the last time I felt this angry was when, you know, ... And then we can begin to see the patterns where we're affected by other people or other circumstances that cause us to react in certain ways, right, that can be sort of obsessive at times if we're not careful, right?
Well, I think it goes back to a great saying in the 12 steps, probably, well, you might know this saying. It's like, feelings aren't facts. You know, just because you have a feeling, that doesn't mean it's true. And I think of Byron Katie's work. I think she's brilliant. She has this program, this process called the work. And it's basically, you ask yourself, is this true? And, you know, is it 100% true? Who would I be if this wasn't true? You know, something to that effect. I'd have to look it up. But it's basically uncovering, who would I be without this emotion? Who would I be without these negative thoughts? Who would I be without this low self-esteem? Who would I be without this obsessive thinking? Who would I be? It's a great process. Pardon me?
Turning it around and getting that perspective.
Exactly.
So, and that's something that maybe we should highlight is, we've talked a lot about what a healthy relationship doesn't look like, and we bounced around some different ideas. So give us a clue. What is a healthy relationship? What does that mean? What does that look like?
So I think the best way to have a healthy relationship is to start by feeling comfortable in your own skin, with or without a relationship. You know, when you have the confidence and you have the self-worth to be on your own, you'll also have the courage to speak honestly with your partner about anything that's troubling you and walk away from a relationship that's not working. You know, and the only way to achieve that is to be friends, to be your own best friend, and to have your own interests and things that remain important in your life and in your relationship. these things anchor you in a positive way so that you don't need to rely on a relationship to make you feel centered or complete. Really, you know, when I got divorced, took up canoeing, I joined a 12-step program, I made new friends, I have my dogs. I mean, there's just a lot of great, wonderful things I have in my life that I can be with me, and no one else is going to like complete me. It would, you know, it will add to my life. It won't make my life. It's not going to fill the empty void, because you'll always to be disappointed if you're expecting someone else to fill you up. It just can't be. They can't do it. They won't meet your expectations. You just want, I mean, you know, and the other thing is the laws of the universe work when you're in a higher vibration. So the higher vibration you're in, you're going to find somebody in a high vibration. You're not going to be looking for broken wings. You know, you're going to be two whole people. And I think for me, it was always attracting broken people that gave me more power. I was broken, they were broken, and it was all just one big mess, one big.
I'm going to fix that broken person, right?
Exactly. I think, you know, I think that's part of, even though it's 2020, I think, you know, some women still think that they have that power, and, or men too, for that matter. And they don't.
How important, I know it's important to probably all three of us, but I just want to get your perspective, Sherry, and how important is it to have a belief in a higher power?
I personally like having a belief in something greater, but my higher power works within me. You know, I believe that it's one mind, me and my source, and I don't have to look outside. It's right there with me at all times. I think that was the greatest awakening for me, was knowing that God is always with me, or higher power, universe, source. There's no separation. I think when we separate it, then it becomes, and again, I'm not dismissing other people's view of their higher power. I think everyone should have their own, and I respect whatever their view is. For me, it helps to know that it isn't a separate thing that's outside of me, but to me, it works through me. And so if it works through me, then I'm never really alone, am I?
Yeah. Well, that's, my sponsor used to tell me that all the time when in the early phases. I mean, I was just a mess, Sherry. We could do a whole show on my early days of recovery, as I'm sure you're well aware of.
Yeah.
But he would say, you know, your number one relationship needs to be with your higher power. Then any relationship that develops under that will be true and at the core. Yeah. And that's always stuck with me, because I think that's part of self-awareness. That's part of a self-love. And you talked about it a little bit earlier too, is if some people talk to themselves, talk to their best friends the way they talk to themselves, they wouldn't have any friends.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Exactly. That's a really good point. I mean, if you don't do the work, it's going to come back. You know, my ex-husband is 63. He's still out there drinking, and probably, unfortunately, I hate to put it out there, but will die of this disease. So I take it super seriously, all addictions. And, you know, you can't run from it. You have to do the work. And that's why I always say it, the program, it works if you work it and you're worth it. I mean, you got to work it.
Put in it. You can't short circuit. I can remember sitting in meetings, Sherry, and looking at those steps on the wall and thinking, well, I could do that one. And I don't think I could do that one, but if I change this just a little bit, I might be able to accomplish it. And oh man, that's just totally out of the picture. I can remember thinking those thoughts.
Right. And so you were like future tripping sort of. And you know, the point is, what you learned, I'm sure, is just one day at a time. Like I'll do
one step. And as I completed each step, I could then look at the next one and think, oh, well, I could do that.
Exactly.
When you try and grasp them all, it's like, whoa.
Well, it's just like telling a love addict, okay, so, you know, maybe it wouldn't be such a good idea to date right now. Like maybe we should think about turning your apps off. You should see like how crazy they get. You know, it's like,
oh yeah.
And so, well, okay, well, maybe we can just go on the app 15 minutes a day, or maybe we can just, you know, I mean, we have to kind of, you know, we have to find something that's going to kind of work. But, you know, if we're going to keep doing what we've been doing, we're just going to keep getting what we got. And so we got to change up some of those patterns. And
so I think it's important, though, that people know what you just said, is that you can't just change overnight. When you recognize there's a problem, this is going to be a process for the rest of your life to not only heal from, but to manage and to make it now a more enhanced part of who you can become. And I think that's where a lot of people, they look at all this work that's necessary. And sometimes they just opt for having the same old life because they don't want to go through all the work to change.
Yeah, I mean, I have a woman in my membership. She just posted on my Facebook group actually this morning, and she's like, oh my God, I met this guy and I was almost going to fall in love with potential again, but I didn't. I took a different route and I ended it. And I'm like, yay. Why? Because she's in the recovery. I mean, whether it's my program or whatever program it is, she's basically looking at this as a lifelong work that she will do for the rest of her life. Otherwise, she won't look at red flags. She'll deny those red flags. So when I see a post like that on my Facebook group, I'm like, yay, it's working. She's changing her patterns.
Stick with it.
What?
Stick with it.
Yeah, she's
our minds have the ability to convince us that, oh wait, no, it's the other way. Oh my goodness, ladies, we are almost out of time. I'm sorry, Sherry, I didn't mean
I was just going to say, you can change the neurotransmitters in your brain, or the neural pathways of your brain. So there is hope. You can change.
It can change. It did for me. Oh my gosh, ladies, we are almost out of time. Sherry, thank you so much. I hope you'll come back. Will you come back?
Oh my God, anytime. And thank you for having me. You both are wonderful hosts.
Oh, we have a blast. You know, this is one time during the week. This is my most favorite day. I get to hang out with one of my good friends, Jackie, and we get to hang out with some really cool people and have great discussions. So it's kind of cool. It kind of makes my week.
Thank you. Thank you for what you're doing to change and heal the world.
Life Mastery Radio. I hope you enjoyed the show today. Jackie, look at that big smile. She had fun. I know she did. And Sherry, thanks again. Check out the website. There's a link in the ebook there for you. Sign up for the newsletter and you'll get that ebook link in your email. Goodness, I'm running out of time because I'm talking too fast. Lastly, choose to check out Sherry's book. You can find it on Amazon. Love Smacked. And lastly, please, please, please make it a great day because it is all about choice. Bye-bye for now.